prepare to be blown away. Hey guys, welcome back to the Bald Shredder channel. And today we're doing something a little different. We're doing something very special. I'm gonna be talking to you guys about one of the most important and influential people in my life. This is Kevin Kinnu. He was my very first guitar teacher. In fact, my only guitar teacher that I've ever had. And I'm gonna explain to you guys why he's so important, and that, like, if it wasn't for Kevin, I might not be sitting here right now doing this and doing guitar stuff and talking to you guys right now about this. Alright, so I'm gonna start off with some stuff that happened like really recently, and then I'll jump back into the whole backstory about how I got started with Kevin and the things that he did that really shaped me as a guitar player and why it was so vitally important. So a few months back, guys, I did a video on this green Heartwood guitar, and Kevin left a comment on the video, and I saw that comment and I was like, oh, Kevin seems to be really interested in this guitar. It seems like he likes it. He'd like to check it out, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it to him. So a couple of days ago, I met up with Kevin for the first time in 23 years. We got together, we hung out, we went out and had a bite to eat together, we talked about old times, current times, all that stuff, and I gave him the guitar. Check it out. What do you think about that guitar, Kevin?
It's a gorgeous guitar, and man, it feels good. It's just really comfortable to hold and play.
Well, I think we all want to hear you do some shredding on it. You want to do that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's do it. So, Kevin Kinnu, boy, where do we start? Well, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning. And before I even started playing guitar, my older brother was taking lessons from Kevin when I was still outside playing with my Star Wars action figures. And then when I got to be like around 11 years old and I wanted to start playing guitar, well, of course, Kevin was the guy that I was gonna take lessons from. And I didn't know it at the time, but boy, Kevin was basically a local legend in the area that we lived in. Everybody knew who Kevin Kinnu was. If you were even remotely interested in music or guitar, even if you didn't play guitar, chances are that you knew somebody that was taking lessons from him, or you knew somebody that knew him, or you saw him playing in a band somewhere or something. But yeah, everybody kind of knew who Kevin Kinnu was. So when I first started taking lessons from Kevin, I was going to his house once a week. They were 30-minute lessons, and just to show you how times have changed, guys, it was $5 for a 30-minute lesson. My dad would drive me there, he'd sit outside in his car, you know, for the 30 minutes, and then when the lesson was done, he'd drive me home. And the first year of my lessons, guys, I had to do the lessons on an acoustic guitar. Kevin wouldn't let me do lessons on the electric guitar the first year. He wanted me to have like some kind of foundation, I guess, which is good, rather than just jumping into all the rock stuff. So I was doing lessons on my acoustic, and I had a book, you know, learning chords and learning how to read the notes and that kind of thing. But at home, I had my JCPenney Harmony electric guitar that I was kind of trying to plunk around on and play stuff. And then at the end of that first year, I upgraded to a much nicer electric guitar, and then it was time to start taking electric guitar lessons from Kevin. And I still remember that very first lesson. I walk in there with my electric guitar, and Kevin's like, "So what do you want to learn?" And I'm like, "Eruption." I want to learn Eruption by Eddie Van Halen. Now keep in mind, guys, I could barely play at the time, right? I mean, I couldn't do solos or any of that stuff, but you would think like Kevin would be like, oh, no, that's way beyond your ability. We can't get to that just yet. Let's start with some more basic stuff. But he didn't. He proceeded to sit there and teach me and show me all the different parts to Eruption within a 30-minute lesson. He was not discouraging. He did not criticize me for playing the parts incorrectly or sloppily or whatever. Very patient. This is one of the things about Kevin, is very patient, very chill, very easygoing. All the kind of things that like lead you to want to keep coming back and doing lessons. You know, if you have somebody that's overly critical and pointing out your mistakes over and over and just making it not fun, then you don't want to go back. But he was not that way. He was the opposite, which made it fun to keep going back to these lessons week after week. That's one of the most important parts. Now, another thing is that he wasn't sitting there saying, you need to learn these scales. We need to learn these modes. We need to learn this and that, all this like technical stuff that maybe wouldn't have been so much fun for me. Instead, every one of my weekly lessons, I would bring in a cassette tape. Yep, it's the old days, guys. I had cassette tapes, and Kevin had a little cassette player right there. I'd bring in a tape, Def Leppard, Dokken, whatever, Van Halen, and I'd go, Kevin, I want to learn this song this week, or this solo this week. And Kevin would put the tape in his little tape player, he'd listen to it, he'd work out the parts by ear, and then he would teach me the parts. So within that 30-minute lesson, if he didn't already know the song, he'd learn it, and he'd teach it to me. And that worked really well. I was really happy with that. And I feel like that was really a great format because that made it fun. That kept up my motivation. You know, every week I'm learning these songs, current songs. This is mid-80s, guys, early 80s, mid-80s. And I'm learning the songs that I'm hearing on the radio, that I'm seeing on MTV, that's on the new album or the cassette tape of one of my favorite bands that I just bought. And then you get to go home and play that and play along with the tape. And it's just, that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I was doing, thanks to Kevin. If it wasn't fun for me, I can see the possibility where I easily could have lost my motivation and just put the guitar down and then didn't continue. I don't want to do this. It's like homework. It's a chore. It's no fun. And then, I mean, where would I be now? No guitars. What if I quit when I was 12 years old and just my life would be completely different? And another thing that was cool and interesting is that even though Kevin was a good 10 years older than me probably, you would think like, okay, he's from like the 70s generation and he's only going to want to go over like the Jimmy Page stuff, or Joe Perry, or Tony Iommi, or Hendrix, or whatever. But that wasn't the case. He was totally up on all the 80s stuff, into all the 80s guys. In fact, if it wasn't for him, I might not have been exposed to like the shredder guys, like the Paul Gilberts, the Vinnie Moores, the Tony McAlpines, all that shrapnel stuff. Because initially I was just into the bands, you know, the ones I saw on MTV, Def Leppard, Dokken, Van Halen, Bon Jovi, all that kind of stuff. But because I had a guitar teacher that was interested in this shredding stuff and these amazing guitar players, you get that exposure and you like, wow, that's cool. Oh, and on top of that, sitting across from a guy like 3 feet across, and he's just blazing and doing all this amazing stuff. That's a big motivation factor right there, watching that right there in person and going, you know what, I want to do that. That's so cool. That's different than watching it on a video on MTV or maybe going to a concert at the Coliseum and they're way far away, but right there, just like live and in person. And this is before the days of the internet. You know, this is before YouTube, Instagram, and all that stuff that we have now. And it wasn't just me, guys. I wasn't the only person taking lessons from Kevin Kinnu. It's tons of guys. Some of my friends that I knew personally. One of my best friends from high school, when he wanted to start taking lessons from a new guy, I'm like, well, you got to go to Kevin. So he ended up going to Kevin and then being part of this sort of like local circle of musicians where everybody knew Kevin and people were taking lessons from Kevin and he became a shredder. And then of course there's Lester Mitchell, who you guys know, who years later would take lessons from Kevin, and now he's an amazing shredder. So it's kind of interesting to think about all these people, and I'm sure there's tons that I don't know, that I'm not even aware of, that have had the same experience where it's like, what kind of guitar player would you have been if Kevin wasn't there doing these lessons and doing the same things with these people that he did with me? You know, you turn out to be a different kind of player, or who knows what. So I'm really grateful and I'm really appreciative for the time that I had with him. I took lessons for about 3 years, guys. 3 years, you know, going in, bringing in my tape, learning stuff. And then after that, I kind of felt like, well, I'm ready to kind of step out on my own, and my ear was pretty good so I could listen to stuff and pick out the parts. But those 3 years were pretty crucial in laying the foundation as to the guitar player that I would eventually become. And here's a little interesting story, a little anecdote. I'll bet Kevin doesn't even remember this, but the very last lesson, guitar lesson that I had with Kevin was I brought in the cassette tape of Vinnie Moore's debut album, his first album, Mind's Eye, and I was like, Kevin, I want to learn the main guitar solo part in the middle of the song from the very first song. I don't even remember the name of the song, but I brought it in. And again, remember, this is a 30-minute lesson. And so Kevin's got the cassette, and he puts it in the little tape player there, and he's imagine trying to learn every note, every little phrase, every little lick in a Vinnie Moore solo. Vinnie Moore, who's just amazing. You've got to learn this within 30 minutes and teach it to the guy sitting there, me, all within 30 minutes. And he did that. But I remember him saying like, oh, you had to pick the hardest one on the album, didn't you? He's probably sweating a little bit because maybe it wasn't the easiest thing, but he was able to do it. There's no way I could sit there. Even today, I don't think I could sit down and pick out and learn every note in a solo the way that he did and then teach it to somebody. So it was pretty amazing. And so, Kevin, I know you're going to be watching this. If you remember from a couple of days ago when we were together, one of the last things that I said to you when we were saying our goodbyes, and you said, hey, thanks for that guitar, I really appreciate it. And I said, yeah, you deserve it. Well, this is the reason. The reason I said that, you deserve it, is because these things that you did for me way back in the day, which you probably didn't even think anything of it. It's like, well, I was just doing guitar lessons, you know, no big deal, whatever. But you were doing that, not even realizing how this is gonna affect basically the rest of my life. But not only for me, but for all the people that you gave guitar lessons to. So when I gave you that guitar and I said you deserve it, I really meant it. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it. So again, huge thanks to Kevin Kinnu. And by the way, Kevin does have his own YouTube channel called KevinTheGuitarTitan, and I will have a link for his channel down in the video description. Make sure you go there and subscribe to his channel. He's got tons of videos. Prepare to have your mind blown when you watch all the stuff that he's doing on the guitar. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.